Today I'm going to share with you how to fill out a PPP forgiveness application, specifically if you're self-employed, an independent contractor, sole proprietor, gig worker. If your loan was for under $150,000, then this video is for you. You're not going to want to miss this. So you heard right, there is a revised forgiveness application known as the 3508S form. They came out with a version of this months ago, but they have since updated it, hence why I'm making this updated video. Now, in addition to showing you how to fill in the application, I'm going to walk you through the whole thing. I am going to talk to you about some of the most frequently asked questions I get, specifically about paying yourself or the covered period. So let's dive right in. Hey, and real quick before we dive in, don't forget to give this video a like. It really helps the YouTube algorithm and me. I appreciate it, so thanks. Okay, this is what the forgiveness application looks like. You can see right at the top, it says that it is for a borrower that only has received a PPP loan of $150,000 or less. The maximum owner's compensation for the sole proprietors out there with no employees was just over $20,000. So this is for you. Now, to be clear, if you got first draw, you're going to need to fill in one of these forms to get forgiveness. And yes, you do have to apply for forgiveness. It's not automatic. And if you receive second draw, you will have to go through this process a second time. It's not like a one and done deal. You do have to fill out 2 forgiveness applications. Now, just be aware that your lender may create some sort of online portal, or it might pre-populate some information for you. In that case, you won't need to fill in one of these, but it's still just a very good idea to know how to gather all the information ahead of time, and you'll see what I mean. So let's get started. Okay, right here at the top, you're going to fill in your business legal name. Now, that's going to be just your first and last name. If you have a different type of corporation or corporation name, like a DBA or a trade name, if you look over here, it tells you to fill that in there. So go ahead and do that if that applies to you. Otherwise, just your full legal name for business legal name. Right here where it says business address, many of you are just going to write your home address simply because you don't have an office that you work out of or you work out of your home. So go ahead and put that home address there unless you do have a separate physical business address. For NAICS code, this can get very confusing for people. What is that? Where do you find it? I put a link down below in the description of this video where you could go and type in what you do, and then it'll give you that code. Now, you may already have it, so you can go ahead and use it if you do, but if you need to find it, just go ahead and search. Now, if you're not sure, you can always check with the lender, but you know how it is trying to get in touch with them. So do your best to find what most accurately applies to your business. Right here, they're asking for business TIN. Now, that could be your EIN number or your social security number. Essentially, they're looking for your tax identification number. So if you applied using your social security number, this is the forgiveness application, just put that social security number. However, if you had an EIN and you know you applied for one and you used it when you initially applied, then go ahead and put that EIN number. Up next for business phone, primary contact, and email address. For the business phone, if that's your cell phone, and many of us applied using the cell phone number so they could send us like the text, like verification, then go ahead and put that down. If you have a separate business number and that's what you applied with, then go ahead and just make sure it matches up with that application. For primary contact, it's going to be yourself because it was a PPP loan for you. So go ahead and put your first and last name again. And for email address, go ahead and put your email where you receive communications. Again, it's probably the place where that DocuSign, that promissory note came to before. Now, I mentioned this at the start of the video, but go ahead and check which draw you are applying for. Your first PPP loan, doesn't matter when you got it. It could be last year, this year. Your first PPP loan is known as the first draw PPP loan. So if you're applying for forgiveness for the second loan that you got, you're going to go ahead and check the box for second draw PPP loan. Now, just to be clear, that SBA PPP loan number is what the SBA has for you attached to your loan. It's usually on the signed approved loan documents, which hopefully you have a copy of. The only way to get that number is to get in touch with the lender. So if you're watching this and you're thinking about applying for forgiveness, get in touch with the lender. Call them, send them a secure message, email, say you can't find it and you need to know where to look. That next number, the lender PPP loan number, that's the number that the lender assigned to your loan, like for their internal tracking. So again, just ask them for that too, unless you see a lender loan number on there. It's a good idea just to ask and get that information before it comes time to apply for forgiveness. Now, I'm sorry if you don't have that information right now. It's such a pain to have to go get that, but to be honest with you, that's probably the hardest part of filling out this application, so let's move on. Up next, they're going to ask for your PPP loan amount. That is the amount that was deposited into your bank account. So go ahead and put that amount down. And you probably have a date attached right there in your statements, so go ahead and put the date that the PPP loan was dispersed. That's the date that it landed in your account. Now, being that you are an independent contractor with no employees, for this next part, employees at time of loan application, put 1. Some people feel like they need to put 0. No, put 1. And then the same thing, employees at time of forgiveness application, put 1. And just to be clear, anybody you pay to do like extra side work for you, they're not your employee unless you have them W-2'd. So if you're not paying them via a W-2, then don't consider them your employee. That's kind of for future reference as well. Now let's talk covered period. The rules changed 3 times. There used to be an 8-week covered period, and then they gave you the flexibility to use a 24-week covered period. And right now, the latest legislation says that you can choose anywhere between an 8 and 24-week covered period. Now, trust me, that's confusing. So the best guidance I could offer here is to just put down the 24-week covered period. I am not going to be the first one applying for forgiveness, like rushing to do it. After your covered period, you have 10 months to apply for forgiveness. And then the lender has a couple of months to process it, so does the SBA. So I just don't want to be like the first one through the door. Instead, there's probably going to be this wave of forgiveness applications. I'm just going to ride that wave. And I think most people should be in that same boat as well. So with that being said, if for some reason you're like, well, I only paid myself over, let's say 10 weeks. Yes, you can put 10 weeks, but I wouldn't put less than that. You received 2.5 months worth of what's called owner's compensation, and you're allowed to pay yourself 100%. So logically, when these lenders are looking at forgiveness applications, they're going to expect you to have paid yourself over 2.5 months or approximately 10 weeks or so. Now, you can argue with me down below in the comments, but I'm telling you that sometimes these lenders don't know what's going on. So it's a good idea just to put the 24-week covered period here, or if you have to rush it, you just need to get this off your books, off your plate, put a 10-week covered period here, because that's how much you've paid yourself over the course of those 2.5 months, approximately 10 weeks. Okay, leave this box blank. This is only for people who receive loans of $2 million or more. And these next 2 lines are where you're going to request the forgiveness amount. Because you're allowed to pay yourself 100%, I think that is the most straightforward way of doing it. If you're not sure if you got the proper amount, I do have a net income and gross income calculator down below. You can sign up for one. They're completely free. You can check your own numbers. But if your numbers were correct, then you were allowed to spend on payroll costs, aka paying yourselves 100% of the loan. So it would be a good idea to write that there if you know your numbers are correct. And then in terms of the amount that you are going to request for loan forgiveness, again, it's going to be that same number. You paid yourself 100% of the correct number. You're asking for 100% to be forgiven. Now, there are a couple things that you have to initial and then sign down below here. The first one says the borrower has complied with all the requirements of the Paycheck Protection Program rules. And they go on to list what that means. So long as you followed the rules, you can initial here. Up next, they're saying that the information provided in the application is true and correct in all material aspects, and that you understand that if you're doing something wrong, that imprisonment and fines are a possibility. So don't do anything wrong like that. You can initial here, and then down below, they're going to ask you to sign and date it and print your name and title. If you're the owner of your business, you could just put owner. I'm going to go ahead and show you these next 2 pages. It's demographic information that is optional, so fill it in if you'd like to. And then that next page is simply the instructions for the borrowers, and they kind of walk you through what I just said. So if you want to kind of print that out or have that next to you, that might be a good idea as well. Okay, when it comes time to apply for forgiveness, hopefully it is a smooth process. The lender set up a portal, or you fill in this application and just send it off. Now, it may take a couple of months. Like I said, the lenders have some time, the SBA has some time. But if your numbers were correct and you paid yourself properly, you used the funds in the appropriate manner, then everything should be forgiven. So fingers crossed that is exactly how it works out for you. I mentioned that I would talk about how to pay yourself properly if you're still wondering, but this video is going on just a little long, so I'll leave a link down below to an article that I wrote and continually update. It provides a few ideas on how to create bank statements and documentation just to show how you use the money if and when the SBA ever comes asking for that document. They can ask for those documents, by the way. They reserve the right to ask for them for up to 6 years. So I just think it's a good idea to get your documentation in order and have crystal clean statements when and if they ever came to ask for them. Let me know down below in the comments if you have any questions about the forgiveness process. If you're new to the channel, don't forget to hit subscribe and ring that notification bell. All right, as always, I'm Rich, and until next time.